What's going on, guys? You're listening to the Local Play Only podcast. I'm Cam.
I'm Phil.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
And as you can probably hear / see, something's a little different this time.
Hashtag social distancing.
Social distancing. It's actually so funny now that we've started. Like, we were just talking to each other for the last hour on this, but it's so much weirder now that we started because I don't know who to look at.
I'm just looking at the camera.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
That's so hard. I should have put a face on top of it. That would have made it easier. Yeah. So as you guys can see, obviously we are not in the same room. It is our first ever online podcast, which is already different. And as promised a while ago, we also have a guest on this one. He's I don't know where he is on your guys' screen, but he's right there for me. It's
He's
Dan.
the not normal one.
Yeah,
The not normal one right here. Hello.
he's not normal. Dan, why are you on the podcast?
I'm here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons with you good folks.
Yeah, it's because you are Triple D. You are Dungeons and Dragons. Dan, you are our one of our two DMs.
It's DM DDD, I'll have you know.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it could be 5Ds. It could be Dungeons and Dragons, Dan, in D&D. I guess it's all the same thing.
Dancing.
Just keep going. Yeah,
A lot of D, you know what I'm saying?
A whole
lots of D. Yeah, so we invited Dan on here because he is one of our two DMs, the other one being Devin. I'm sure one day for a second D&D episode, maybe we'll have all 5 of us on.
Whoa,
I mean, someday we could have Devin on for a indie games podcast because he seems pretty into those.
That's true, yeah. Or even
He loves
a bad opinion on movie podcast because he's got really bad opinions on movies.
he does have bad opinion and games too, man.
That's true. Pretty much just on everything.
Dev, we love you. Happy birthday, Dev.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Happy birthday, Devin.
Sorry, a little bit of an insulting way to start off for a Devin birthday. Oh man, we should have had him on for a birthday podcast. But no,
We'll invite him to the call after.
yeah, we'll just pretend we're still on the podcast, so we'll invite him in. So before we even get into any of the D&D chat, we're going to talk about just what's been going on for the past week. It's a pretty standard staple. We do it every podcast. This week's been a little weirder than some, I guess, since our last time we recorded. It was about a little over a week ago now. 8
So
days.
much stuff has changed in just under a week.
Yeah,
Like,
lots of
it's
stuff. Who wants to start with their week?
I will.
Okay, yeah, let's get the new one. Guess first.
I don't work any longer, which is weird.
Yay, social distancing, quarantine.
I'm homeschooling my kids, and other than that, nothing's really changed other than having to do D&D online. So
Yeah, this is
really, not
it's
a whole
kind of the
lot's changed.
weirdest thing. I think I was explaining it to Dan a little bit before we started this, is that I have had weeks off before where I didn't do anything. Like I barely left home and I just played video games. But
But now you're forced
that was
to.
frowned upon, and now when I'm doing it, it's not frowned upon. It's so strange. Like everything feels weird.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nice though. At least for me, prior to when I moved to Belleville in 2013, around 2011, 2012, I would spend days on end playing video games because I was a single guy. I didn't work a lot. I was still living at my parents' house, and I just really haven't got back into that in a long time. And for the last 5 or 6 days, I think we're on day 5. I've just been fucking chilling. It's been nice, but also kind of not the greatest for my physical health.
There's also the
eating
fear of,
habits.
the fear of getting lazy is there too, too lazy.
Yeah.
Each day I try and give myself 1 or 2 things. I'm I'm going to be productive this day by doing this. But then there's a lot of just waking up later. Every day I wake up a little bit later and stay up a little bit later. It's dangerous.
I've been forcing myself to get up at. Today I woke up at 8 just because I know how easy it is to get into the routine.
Good boy, Phil.
My alarm's set to 10:30, so
10:30?
yeah.
I'm up anywhere between 6:30 and 7 every morning.
And when I wake up at 10:30, it's too early. I kind of then I
Too
lay down.
early.
I lay down in the bed sometimes now till 12:30, till noon playing Animal Crossing, because my new bed's so comfy.
I haven't stayed in bed until 12, probably in 4 or 5 years.
You should
It's
try
not
it one of
long.
these days.
My oldest is 11. That makes at least 11 years since I've been able to
I wake up, I'll heat up my my hot lamb to put underneath my back of my legs because it's a good way to start the day, and I'll just play some Animal Crossing in bed. Meg will normally be playing Animal Crossing in bed too, and we'll just chill sometimes till one of the days I think at 1 is when we both left the bed, and it was just so she went and got some McDonald's for lunch.
Living the
To,
dream.
to clarify for the viewers, the lamb it's got like beads in it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. For
It's
the
not an actual live slaughtered lamb.
Yeah, I
no,
thought it was just like a lamb roast. You just slap it between your
no.
thighs.
I've always
You're
been
like,
calling it my
actually,
hot bear until I realized one day it was not actually a bear. But no, it's for the back stuff is also kind of concerning because I can't go to the physio anymore. I can't go to massage therapy, and I don't want to risk going to the hospital either.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sometimes it feels like it's getting better, but I think it's actually just my leg is getting more numb, so I can't feel it as much. So I don't know if that's a
That
win or a
sounds like
loss.
fun.
It's
You'll
hard
be
to say.
paraplegic by 2021.
So
Listen,
is that what
Corona's
you've
still
been
going
doing all week, Cam?
No, okay. So obviously we've been trying to get out more podcast content or even just YouTube content. So we tried streaming a lot of Warzone. We've been playing a lot more Warzone. I streamed the
one
League
day.
of Legends one day. I rearranged my whole the whole podcast room since now we're practicing social distancing. I don't need to be in the room with you guys, so I kind of changed where everything is to give a little more space and make it a little comfier. And then right now I'm working on something for Animal Crossing. So a video to come out with Animal Crossing probably tomorrow, hopefully, if the editing and everything goes pretty smoothly. That's kind of what I'm dreaming. Yes, yeah, you're part of it. Yeah,
I'm helping.
yeah, he's helping.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and then
Have you
obviously,
guys been enjoying Animal Crossing?
yeah, I played way too much. I don't know what would happen if this came out at a time where I was working. It would be weird.
Can you play way too much Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
I thought it like stops you from doing shit.
No, it stops you for the most part. It's like this thing where you should be patient, do a little every single day, but you can just grind the shit out of it too. Like there are some things that they just keep endlessly going. They're called Nook Miles Plus, and they'll just keep refreshing after you finish them. And then it's just catch 5 bugs, catch 10 fish, all this chop wood, and you could do it endlessly.
And then you use those tickets or those miles to get a ticket to go to another island, and that other island has, might have different plants than yours, so you can harvest it all and different wildlife and stuff like that. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't even
How
want
many
to
hours
know.
do you-
Actually, I will look at how many hours I have right now.
I can also look, but
Yeah, I
I,
guess
I
they're
actually
close
don't think
enough.
it'll tell you. I think it'll say has first played it blank.
Is that
Does
all
it
it'll
say
say?
within the game?
It
No,
should
it
under
does
the,
not.
No, the
under
game doesn't even have a
options.
start screen. You literally just go and hit A, and then you're just in the game.
Yeah, the start screen literally just looks like that. It's just a press A, and that's
Yeah, or
it.
there's a minus for settings. I
Yeah,
don't know if it
mine
does
just
say.
says I first played it 4 days ago.
Darn,
So
that'd be good information to
doesn't
know
have hours
too.
yet.
Your Switch will tally how many hours you play a game. It's under some sort of options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
don't
it
think.
does, but I think after the first week, it'll tell you your total.
I don't
Right
want
now,
to.
we're
I don't want to
already
know what
4
it's
days
gonna
in.
be.
I'm
Yeah.
jealous. I have to wait till after our Chronication for
That's
that
true.
to happen.
Now I want to go back and I want to stipulate the fact that Cam said he would never play this game.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. You're like, oh, that game's not for me. I don't
Listen,
wanna
do
play
we
it."
have a voice recording of it?
Yeah, it's on one of the podcasts.
No, sorry, we
On the
can't find it.
sidebar?
No, I mean,
Don't
to be
remember.
fair, we also have a voice recording of you saying you will never buy it digitally, and then you had to. So
I had to.
life
That's
changes.
the difference.
Listen, I
I-
probably
Whoa! You didn't have to.
yeah, it's true.
You didn't
It
have
wasn't
to.
for me.
You could have
It
ordered-
wasn't for
You could have
me.
ordered it on Amazon and waited the days.
Yeah, I refuse to do that.
Why didn't you guys just go to Walmart?
It's
Yeah,
true.
I don't
You,
want to leave the
Not go to
house.
Walmart.
you could have bought it from
That's
Walmart.
true.
The thing is, and just the same as that though, I never would have bought Animal Crossing if it wasn't for the Coronacation.
Yeah.
Because I would have had other things to do and I would have been working and stuff. It was just because I had the time, so I figured why not.
Making
I've been
society
watching-
do things I don't want to do.
Yep.
I've been watching videos on it lately, and it's been in the living room, and Christy's obviously, and she's like, "Oh, that game looks cute." I'm like, "Yeah, we could get it if you want."
I feel like if I was just to watch videos on it, I wouldn't really get it or care. But playing it's definitely addicting. But I also did get addicted to Minecraft for a while too.
Mhm.
I played it once so
Classic
much I
Damien.
threw up. Yeah. So
Classic
It was
Damien,
fun.
though.
I was watching you stream it yesterday. I think it was Cam with Damien.
that's 2 nights ago. But yeah.
2 nights ago. Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. It just looks like really grindy though.
Oh, it is grindy. It is grindy to an extent. You could just go on each day, play for a few hours, collect all your fruit, get your wood, go to an island or two, meet all your fucking friend townsfolk and all that kind of stuff. Or you could go hardcore. There are also a lot of people that are cheating at the game, but I decided to take this completely non-cheating. So
Yeah,
Wow,
Kotaku
that's-
posted an article and they're like, "Oh, you can money hack now," and I'm like, "Then why the fuck play the game if you're just gonna like?"
Yeah, and just like with
Cheat.
Pokemon, I didn't really care about Pokemon honestly though as much, because the Pokemon wasn't really about the same thing to me. But just like Pokemon, you can change the time on your Switch, and that'll put you days ahead, or you can go to different months and catch fish you can't even catch yet. But like the whole point of Animal Crossing is just playing it day at a time, and it really like affects it. Like you know what day of Animal Crossing you're on based on what's going on. So
One day at a
And-
time, Phil. One day at a time.
Have you guys played any of it before? Like, have you played Animal Crossing on
Andrew did, I didn't.
DS?
A minuscule amount. This is technically my first like full-on game. I played the 3DS version for like an hour or two, and it didn't hook in there. But the Switch one, yeah, I've definitely put. I can probably say at least 30 plus hours in it.
I
already.
saw Devin play. What was it? New Leaf? Was that the 3DS one?
That was the 3DS one, yeah.
Yeah, I saw Devin play New Leaf all the time, and it just didn't look like something I was interested in. I thought of it too much instead of like thinking like now I kind of really compare it to stuff like Minecraft. It's kind of like somewhere in a mix between that. I always saw like Meg playing, the Harvest Moon game or the Story of Seasons, which is
How's Meg liking it?
she's been enjoying it too. Yeah, we as I said, buying it digitally, we only had to buy one copy, and we're both playing it
You're
on
welcome.
our own separate files and everything like that too. So pretty
I
dope.
find it would be a great time killer in a time like this. Like when you don't have to pay
Yes.
attention to it fully, it doesn't require you to be on it like 100%.
No, but it can, like anything else, if you play anything too much in the day, it really affects your sleep. Like when you dream, you just dream you're like hitting trees or fishing or something. Like
Yeah.
that's what happened with
No.
Minecraft back in the day. Yeah, just like you were talking about earlier with your D&D.
Curse of straw dreams. Yeah, it happens. I get it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to me.
The time I was sick for Minecraft is because I played it. Me and Devin sat and played it for like 12 hours nonstop. And then when I slept, I couldn't tell if I was sleeping or if I was playing Minecraft. And like the motion in Minecraft and that kind of stuff, like first person in my dreams made me sick. So I woke up the next day throwing up constantly.
Dan, what makes you want to get it if you've never played?
You know what? I like the art style. It's again, as Cam puts, it's that kind of Minecraft-esque type of thing that it's something I feel like I could waste a bunch of time in and not feel bad for it either. My daughter also wants it for her birthday, so
It's a good kid
Win-win.
game for sure. I could tell that already.
You can play it 4 players on the same TV though, which is pretty sweet.
they already play way too much Minecraft, so I need something.
It's true.
different to
I love
distract
when is it Kat? I think it's Kat who always comes in and tells me about like their Minecraft adventure from like the night before.
That's who wants it.
Yeah,
So
I feel like she comes in and she just constantly tells about how like they were building a place and then one person started dumping lava on all of it and like just
Classic.
gets into all this
That's
shit.
kind of cool though. Like it'd be dope to have like your kids be into games.
Yeah, I imagine trying to
It's
keep
fun.
that town with all 4 of them would just be just chaos though.
If you can
my life is
just
chaos.
don't set them to
That's
best
alright.
friends, and they can't chop down trees or anything like
They
that.
can't
They can just
destroy
collect
everything.
things.
That's good.
Yeah.
Phil, you've pretty much you've been streaming a lot, right? Like you've been streaming Days Gone.
Yeah, so for this kind of chronication, my whole plan is to go through and maybe play some of the games I have on my backlog.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna try to complete Nino Kuni,
Yeah.
Days Gone, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and I may also start Persona 5. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to try to do a Lost Legacy stream. It's only like I looked up on how long to beat, and it only takes about 7 hours to beat.
I was
So
gonna say
I'm
it's not.
I don't
long.
even know what the hell
Oh.
Lost Legacy is.
The Uncharted
Oh, okay, yes,
female
yeah.
Uncharted
Yes,
one.
the females. Yes, okay, I remember that.
Yeah, I picked it up for $10 on Black Friday, and I was like, yeah, I might as well. Like I've played all the Uncharted games before. When it came out, it was like $40, something
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't really care enough about these characters. But at our local mall on Black Friday, they were doing this thing where if you bought a $100 gift card, you got $10 for free. So we bought the $100 gift card. I used the $10 to buy Lost Legacy for $10. So I basically got it for free.
That's a free game.
Listen,
Yeah.
we should really start being concerned about the fact we will probably not be getting the physical copy of Final Fantasy. Like,
I'm okay with that.
I'm not.
well, yeah,
I'm
then
not okay with that.
then you'll have to be waiting for it though, because like, or I guess
No,
Amazon.
I'll buy
Or
it
go to
digital.
Walmart. Go to Walmart.
I don't want to die. I'll just stay at home.
Just well, you have
But I
enough
mean,
time now
you can
too.
buy your groceries that week. and get the game.
Yeah, or you have enough
Maybe.
time now too. You can also just order on Amazon and it'll just be sent to you.
True. Oh, I should just do that.
Because realistically
don't-
now with
Oh wait, physical copy. No, that won't help it. It's physical copies. No, okay, Walmart won't have it then either.
no, the physical
'cause they
copies are
put
going to
out
be
that
coming.
press release and said that there's a possibility of physical copies
Yeah,
on.
physical could be delayed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel
I'll
like
get it digitally. I don't
feel like
care.
if they-
And I'll get a collector's edition when they come, the 4 of them or the 5 of them on PlayStation 5.
So do you really
Yeah.
think they would just delay physical and not just the whole game altogether?
yes,
Yes.
100%.
Money. The answer is money.
money.
Well, that's fine. I'll get
Especially
it digital then.
right now, man. Imagine if they push that up by a week, it would sell insanely.
I mean, when it
Like,
comes out, we're
ridiculous.
already still might be in all this too. Like it's hard to say right
True.
now, but
I'm sad because Persona 5 Royale comes out on the 31st, and I bought the collector's edition of that,
Yeah,
and
you're not
I
picking
will
that
wait
up.
for that one
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
I've beat it before.
I was
But
gonna say you
I was like,
won't be getting that
I
day
don't want
one.
it.
Yeah, with in Ontario with all the Doug Ford stuff today, essential
Yeah, everything's
businesses
fucking
are being
closed.
forced to close, and I'm pretty sure he said till a specific date. As of right now, they might expand it later, but that means we're at least not going back to work until that date.
Yeah, that's what's sick because like
That's
tomorrow
what's
businesses completely closed at 11 p.m. They're completely closed
Mm-hmm.
for 2 weeks. So I think it's going to run until April 7th.
Yeah,
So that
I'm checking the date.
that's the earliest too. That's like with that being passed, that's the earliest possible you can see.
and
going
isn't
back
that
to work.
what date does Final Fantasy come out?
10th?
The 10th.
Yeah.
That'll
With
be
shipping and everything like that. It wouldn't
man.
be
Easter
there.
could be ruined for people this year.
Don't
April
worry.
6th, I think is. But yeah,
GameStop will be open right on the 7th to serve all your Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
prob-
needs. Don't you worry.
probably.
Okay, I think it's time we get into the real reason. I was
The
going to say
meat
that
of the
we're here,
topic.
but it's not really the reason we're here. We'd be here, one way or the other. The real reason Dan is here. D&D. Okay, so I feel like most of what we talk about here, video games, anime, movies, TV shows, all that kind of stuff, it definitely has a pretty big cross, with the fandom between like D&D. Even recently when we went to go see, no spoilers, you guys haven't seen it yet, but when me and Phil went to go see Onward, like the newest Pixar movie, the whole movie's plot is like D&D focused. Like it's got a lot of cross between. It's definitely coming back into this like huge revival, which is partially due to Critical Role, which is something that me and Dan watched. I think Andrew's seen it a little bit too.
I tried. I can't get past the first bit.
I've never seen
They're
it.
just too long. That's all. Like I don't have time to watch 5 hours of stuff.
Now you got nothing but time though.
I
mean,
don't have
He
time.
did it before.
Like it's true.
Dan's the only one that'll understand.
Dan has 4 of them, and he still watches Critical Role.
Yeah, they're all older now.
Yeah, that doesn't make them any better. They get worse as they get older.
Louder.
You put a switch in front of them, and that's it.
I don't know. Then they just after like 20 minutes, then they get in fights with each other about who's playing the Switch and who gets to hold what, and it gets. I don't know. I worked at a
Anyway,
daycare.
this is getting offhand.
Yeah,
You're both right. It depends on the day.
depends on the day. Maybe depends on the kids. But yeah, the D&D went through this big revival. I'm sure it was for more reasons than just Critical Role. That's just something that helped and then thrived because of it. But even recently, like on my phone, when the whole Corona stuff started, I got these messages all the time being like, how you can start playing D&D right now online with friends and stuff like that. Like, it's like marketing it right now towards people because they're like, you're going to be off from work. You might as well play some games with your friends.
Fantasy
Well,
Grounds like, oh, here comes the money.
Yeah, Fantasy Grounds and
It's,
Roll20. You're like,
It's a big topic because a lot of people are used to and enjoy the in-person kind of gaming. I personally enjoy it more than online, but I understand that, hey, if we want to keep playing Dungeons and Dragons, we're going to have to socially distance from home. So
well, and
I
just
think
like
it's a completely different experience doing it in person. It's like a board.
Well, just like
Yeah,
with the
we'd be able to notice
podcast
Phil
too.
leaving.
Like with the podcast, it's one of those things where like we understand that the quality of the podcast is obviously not going to be as high. We have different levels of equipment. There's different places. There's different background factors, stuff like that. But it's better to come out with something. It's like D&D. We could stop playing D&D for whoever knows how long this is going to go on. But with this time, like might as well use it.
I know at least for me, I wouldn't. I don't like playing online. Like when you guys do a week participate.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind online. Once again, like it kind of depends. It is an imagination game, so I feel like if you can't play online, it means that you're not using your imagination as much as you probably should be, which is one thing. But like with this, for instance, if we started doing video aspects to it, that would really help because being able to look at someone and see them also kind of helps, especially with like the dungeon master. But I don't know. I like the last one we did with Devin as the campaign. Obviously, it was a little flawed for some reasons. Like we weren't using any program or anything like that. But I still found it a lot of fun. Like the murder mystery element kind of worked over the internet.
It's really difficult, I think, to do combat like that. At least in my experience, only doing it. I think the role playing is a lot better, just because it's more theater.
Yeah, and now that when you know that this is how we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks, obviously some things you can't just remove combat from D&D for like a month. You're not really playing D&D at that point. But you could tailor specific things going forward to how you're going to have to play it, right? I guess that's just part of being a good dungeon master, and part of being a good player is kind of recognizing that and trying to figure out how you're going to play it, kind of thing.
The difference is what if you're going to do theater of the mind, if you're going to do something without maps and without visual, then you need to be a little bit more descriptive of the space you're in.
Yeah.
And players need to be a little more creative in how they handle things. And there's just a lot more question asking. I don't mind it. I do like having a solid map. I find that, though, sometimes with a solid map, it can also bog down a combat with all the finer, smaller details that may not be essentially relevant to a good story.
Yeah, like it makes it more of like a game, and it takes it away a little bit from D&D. It makes it a little bit more like a game. Like we've played on Fantasy Grounds before. We had like 3-hour sessions that were just combat. They're important to the story and stuff like that, but it will never be as fun as like we've had 3-hour sessions where we were just in a tavern the whole time. No combat, but we had a great time.
The Winston special.
The role playing sessions, I think, in some cases.
Yeah. I think that they're both important, and this could make a better, like, I don't know, Dan, obviously you're the DM, but in the long run too, even playing like this for a couple of weeks could make you a better DM. It could teach you some extra skills about being descriptive and stuff like that. Because I know, for instance, I can watch Critical Role with my phone down, no video aspect to it at all. Matt Mercer is obviously like a god among men when it comes to this kind of thing. It's his whole career, and he can just describe anything to me. I see it.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think one of the talents that Dan has is actually descriptive. One thing I really enjoy about Dev's campaigns, and I post about it on the Instagram account quite a bit, is just the work that he'll put into like staging something. So he'll, like add props, or he'll kind of like set the stage physically in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
With Dan, just maybe it's because we've been in Dan's world, September, but Dan's world really feels like living. Like it actually feels like we're truly there, and I can remember different parts of it. And looking at the map, it actually feels like an existing thing.
Yeah, I say it all the time too. Is I think every single. I mean, now this is coming from someone who's only been a player, but I think every DM is different, and I think each of them can learn something about like someone else. Like every single DM has one thing they're amazingly good at, and then one thing that maybe they could use a little bit of work on. Like I always said this before, Devin, he puts tons of effort into his battles. He has like, he's got all these crazy ingenuitive ideas and stuff like that. But then, yeah, and then someone like Dan, though, for instance, whenever I walk into a town, Dan makes me think I'm in that town, right? He describes the NPCs, gives them a stupid ass voice and a dumb ass name, and then like you're not just walking to shop and like, yo, I want to buy an axe, and he's like, okay, yeah, you bought your axe, continue. He's like, oh, I'm Frederick the dwarf. Your axe is 26 golds, and like he dives into the character. More
Dev
immersive.
is creative. Some of the stuff he has come up with, some of the creativity and just twists on original concepts, I found to be amazing, and I applaud him for that because I don't even have that kind of creativity. My world is more grounded, more realistic in a way. But again, like I've only been DMing for as long as we've been playing, and the only reason I chose to DM was because I had the books and no one else wanted to do it.
Yeah, you're like, I got all these books, so.
How did we
gotta use them?
Dan, like how did you, like what even made you want to start playing again? Like when did you start playing?
So I played back in high school, but a little bit with my friends.
How old are you now?
At 31.
Okay, so that would have been like
Math.
How many years ago?
Talking at least
2006, 2007.
And it was a lot of fun. And in the time that I played with them, I had so many funny little memories. Just little stories that never existed in the real world, but just if I talked to my friends about them, we all knew, and it was a great laugh. And then I stopped playing for a long time after that. And honestly, this September I was bored and I needed a hobby. I was working less by choice, of course, and I needed something to fill that time. And I saw the books online or at the local hobby store, and I grabbed them, and I just started to read them for fun, hoping that maybe I could find a party to play with.
Yeah, I definitely know that I've seen many things about D&D since I was like in high school and stuff like that. Always was like, man, I wish I had a group to play this with. But, you know, even though we talked about it sometimes with like my friends like Mike and Dev and stuff like that, it just never happened. Like we've always been really brutal in like our one specific group at actually doing things. Like we always start something, but then we never actually go through and do with it. So when we started this in September, you know, there was obviously a part of being like, like, is this going to keep going? Like, who's going to be the person who bails first? Like all this kind of stuff. But everyone's been pretty consistent. Yeah, like I think
am surprised.
Most people have missed,
surprised.
like I think, like Phil, you missed a couple sessions, but they were mainly, I think, when Devin's new campaign started.
Yeah.
Devin missed one because he was like sick and he tried doing the computer and it just didn't really work very well with one of us on the computer.
I missed one of Dev's, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. Like everybody's missed mostly one except for me because I'm the best. But like it happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something I've always wanted to do, and now I'm doing it as a fully fledged adult. You know, feels right. Feels like the good time for it too.
And Andrew, you said that you have played it before, like in the past.
They were like 2 separate times. They were never like full, in-depth ones. Like one of them was we literally made our characters. Like the 4 of us made our characters. The DM described a town. We went in, and of course, what are the first thing people do? They're like, "Oh, I'm definitely not lawful good, so I'm gonna not be a lawful good person. I'm gonna pee on the shopkeeper," and like just like we're breaking down doors.
Yeah, the
I
old
did a
murder
roll
hobos is
to
what they're called.
perch up on my friend like Batman. Like it was just dumb. But it was fun. And then there was another one where I did a little bit more, and it was a couple sessions, but somebody bailed and it just didn't work.
I think
Kind of
I think
fizzled out.
I think one of the hardest things for new players, and even like we've been playing for a while, and sometimes it's still hard to remember, is how important your like alignment is. Right? You do something, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna slit that dude's throat, and then someone's like, yo, what's your alignment again? You're like, man, I'm lawful good, and they're like, okay,
I'm good with that.
you know,
See,
there's that question always. You're like, oh yeah, right, that's what I am.
Alignment is important, but for new players, I find it's hard for them to get over the fact that they can do anything. They are just like a person in a world where they can do whatever they want, technically, as they feel, without consequence. As a DM, you have to give them consequence. Cam, do you remember the first question you asked me in D&D when you asked what you could do?
No, I don't. It's been too long.
Do you remember? Hey, well, can I go suck a goblin's dick?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That was
listen,
the
Are you
first
sure
thing
that
you
was in D&D?
I do remember that. You're like, I do, because I was like, yo, can I like just go like suck a goblin's dick? And you're like, I mean, yeah, man. Like if you want, I don't like know if you do, but you know,
The
you just gotta
classic
test your
Winston.
boundaries out.
I think I started mostly because I think you came to the mall, Dan, and you were like, we're going to do this session. And then Cam mentioned that Andrew was going to play and a couple other people. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. I've tried to play once before and it didn't really work just because I don't think we had a good understanding of like the rules of the game or like how to actually play it. I think we rolled our characters, but that was it.
I think rolling characters is as far as I ever got to when I first started. It was a cool concept, but same thing. You need someone who knows the rules, even if they're not always going to play by them. It's obviously any rule can be changed if it's the DM's choice, but you need someone who kind of knows them.
But I think in growing up and playing games like Oblivion, other like RPG, like medieval RPG games, kind of always made me somewhat interested in playing D&D. And in a weird way, like playing The Witcher 3 like a few years ago kind of like sparked my interest in playing it again too.
Plus, we always have Witcher background music on too, just to keep the mood there.
Any fantasy role-playing game kind of fits it, right? You can take a character from any of the settings and kind of make it in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, you may not be, as powerful as Gerald, but you could get there technically.
Yeah.
There's also cool
like
things
Skyrim's
like
a lot of the first time for people too. Like everyone, like
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
of people
lots of
played
new
Skyrim
people.
and they're like, I can be a little like goblin man, or not a goblin man, a orc man, and run around and just cause havoc? And so, of course you can. And then a lot of people were like, I can do that on a writing game. What? And they went from there.
I heard they're releasing Skyrim on smartwatch.
Are they actually?
Of course they are.
Yeah, I'm not even surprised. We'll talk about how often we play next. So our campaign, so the one where Dan's the DM, is every single Tuesday. It started just because that's one of the nights you have off. I mean, obviously right now you have all nights off. But right, that's when you only had, I think, you had Tuesdays and Thursdays off or something, or Tuesdays and.
I opened Monday, Tuesdays, so I was always at that time.
Yeah, so that's how we started. We've been doing. I think we might have skipped 1 week or 2 weeks. I think once for holidays, like Christmas season.
Yeah, the Christmas season.
I think we skipped like the 2 because the weather, and we have people like BFW Jimmy. He comes from like an hour away.
I believe we missed 1. We moved the Tuesday to another day, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, one of them we played a little early. I think it was on a Monday or something.
You guys have been great for showing up, and that's one of the hardest things as a DM to find, is a party that's willing to show up or wants to show up. But I always wanted to set the rules that if you weren't enjoying yourself and you didn't want to be here, then that's on you. And if you don't enjoy it, then of course I'm not going to force you to be here. But I mean, you're missing out. It's supposed to be here for fun. We're all supposed to be enjoying it.
There's also so many reasons why you might not enjoy it, right? Like a lot of times, if you might not enjoy it, it might just be maybe your character you're not enjoying. And if you're not enjoying your character, talk to your DM and just fucking kill them. Make a new one, or come up with some sort of story with the DM that changes how your character is or acts, or like there's always ways around it, right?
Yeah,
Jimmy.
It's true.
My druid was like that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't enjoy my druid at all.
I think Phil, you always have something with Plues,
Yeah, I was
right?
telling Dan this when we were at the gym the other day. I think so. We've played three different campaigns. I've rolled 3 different characters now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I've made Plues, which is the first one, Elliot, and now I have Maxwell. And I would say I dislike Plues the most, just because when I made Plues, I thought, I don't know, I wanted to make like this kind of like silent, angry person who's like ranged. And then I made like Elliot, who's like this like dual personality guy, and I have Maxwell, who's like this anxiety ridden
Dual personality guy.
Yes. And I think that with Plues, I don't know. If I could go back, I would make a different character, but I also, like, since the game's always changing and evolving, I know that I can take him in like a different.
Yeah, like anything can happen, like in real life, to your character or your person, or anything that happened that changes something about you. But I definitely think there is, like, when people start, they think of like the rogue, archetype where he's like quiet and that kind of stuff. And then when you're playing D&D, you just realize how much more fun it is just to be like super obnoxious in one way, right? Like, you just
Power Fist for me is just like so annoyingly positive that it just drives people nuts. And I'm loving just being this annoying character for everyone but me. I'm like sitting there super hyper. It's super fun.
Yeah, like you play like your traits, you're either at a 0 or at like 100, right? Like if you're quiet, you're fucking quiet. Like you're not talking to anybody, but if you're like excited, when you get excited, you're
like,
at 100.
Hello.
Yeah, like it's kind of what's fun about it.
Like I mentioned to Phil at the gym there too, is if you ever want to retire a character, you don't have to go in and do something stupid and maybe get the whole party killed. You can have a character find a quest in life that separates them from the party, and you're more than welcome to have that that character just leave, roll up a new character. Maybe in the future, maybe that character comes back. You know what I mean?
Maybe he becomes like a villain, something. Yeah, like a twist.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the D&D. The coolest thing about it, there's just no limits, right? Like anything can happen. Rules don't even matter. Like they're really nice to know, but whatever DM says is the rules. That's just how life works. You could look it up, and I feel like that's always one of the hardest things. And like this kind of goes into a question for you, Dan, about like being a player versus being a DM. Obviously, as a DM, lots of the rules, like healths of a lot of enemies, stuff like that. Do you think that affects how you play when you actually get to play?
So yeah, it does affect how I play. I mean, the rules, I've learned to just kind of go with the flow of whoever the DM is. I mean, I don't even know all the rules, to be honest. I haven't been doing this for long. I'm not even the best person to ask all the rules. That being said, as far as knowing things about what an HP is, I I try and play it more as cool. As much as I know this, I'll act accordingly. Yeah, you can try and min-max it and try and meta, but it's more fun to be there and just kind of say, well, let's try this. Try something different. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
try not to cheese the battle knowing that, hey, this isn't resistant to fire. If I kill it with fire, we're good.
Yeah, listen, all of
Right.
us are gamers. All of us want to be the best at playing games. But at some point when you're playing D&D, you just go like, I don't want to be the best anymore. I just want to have a good time. Like there's been so many times where I've made dumb choices, not because I knew it was dumb, but I was like, nah, I feel like that's just the choice right now that would lead to the stupidest outcome, or be something that my character would think.
Mimic? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of the things that I always try to keep, that it's not necessarily like the choice that I would make, but it's more like the choice that the character that I've created is making.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and kind of putting myself in the character's position makes the game more enjoyable.
Yeah, it might not always lead to the best outcome for you, and it's maybe it won't give you everything you want, but it leads to something more memorable, like for sure. Like you get more memorable situations when you're like either really leaning really hard into your character or just doing some of the dumbest shit. Now that's not to say you should purposely just do the stupidest shit possible and become complete murder hobos and stuff like that, but
Like
it's still a game. Have fun.
Bow.
Yeah, that's one of those situations. You're like, I'm getting a little bored right now. Like, what if I just fuck over the whole party? Like,
when you talk about characters and players, you talk about Matt Mercer, how good he is, and he is great at what he does. I won't deny that. But the other thing you have to remember is that the people he's playing with are amazing as well. And you can be a good DM, but if your players want to fuck around, that's all it's gonna be. And I think that being able to have party dynamics, to have an argument within the party but not take it personally outside of the group, is a big thing. On Thursday, I played through Curse of Strahd with a group, and we walked in, and I was trying to have a civil conversation, and they decided they were just going to kill the people we were talking to, and they weren't worth the time. And my character, I chose to just put my hands up and walk out. I walked away from the battle and let them finish it off. Nope. I said my character wasn't having that. And even though he disagreed, and I asked him if he would, withhold his action so I could try and talk him out. If it doesn't work, then he could kill him. He said, no, I'm doing it. So I left, and I didn't take it personally. I didn't go, oh, you didn't listen to me. Why wouldn't you listen to me? I said, okay, my character's upset. And I explained why my character was upset, and he understood and I understood, but I didn't, go, oh, I hate that guy. I'm going to leave this group.
And what was his alignment?
He's lawful good or chaotic good.
Oh, still. Yeah, it's chaotic good. I feel like is one of the the most misunderstood ones. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's kind of cool that you also have like this campaign with other people where you're just the player with because then you get to see also a different DM and how they kind of do it, and you get to see how other players play. Obviously they're not as cool as us. Like that's obvious, I assume.
Dan, what did you think of us on our first session?
Honestly, I started my session very openly and very easy. I just laid down my rules. I remember I read the rules to you guys, and I was just looking. It's not serious. I wasn't expecting anybody to show up a second, third session, so I played it off as a list of adventures. You start one day and kind of move on to the next thing. After that, I kind of built the world around you guys and the characters you'd built. Once I realized you're more serious, I had a lot of fun. I mean, there was a lot of memorable moments, from Devin breaking kneecaps to you guys friending the one NPC or one bad NPC, and then him carrying on to the future storyline.
Yeah, making it to future arcs.
Yeah, to give the listeners kind of context on that, can someone give them a too long,
Yeah, I got this. Okay.
Didn't read.
So our very first quest actually was there was a young girl who was picking flowers and she went missing. So, the father's, obviously he's a little concerned. So luckily this brand new group of adventurers who come searching for money are on the case. So we leave town. We upon a carriage that's been toppled over and a poor fella who looks like he might be injured. So then our priest, his name's Stewie, played by the fantastic Devin Baker. Happy birthday again. He walks up to help him, and then the guy turns out to be a bad guy. He tells a little joke, and then he kind of scampers.
What did he say?
What he was? What is he?
He's talking about how attractive
those bandits. They were so strong and talented and handsome.
And then he pulls off his mask and he's like, "It was me." And then Devin just got so pissed from being lied to, he just took his mace and broke both of his kneecaps.
He commanded him over and then broke his.
Yeah,
knees.
and then I think after that we named his mace like Knees Bane or something. And every single time we were in some different fight, he would always just go for someone's knees. Like I don't even think he was doing it as a joke. I think he was just unconsciously going towards it each time. He's like, yeah, I want to hit them right in the knees again. And we're like, okay, man, like classic Stewie.
Fair with a mace, that's a pretty big weak spot.
I guess, yeah.
But then basically
we healed him up, and he actually became one of our best buds. His name was Rodrigue. He did become Rodrigue for a little while. He gave us a house. We let him go. Later, we met back up with him. He was a ship captain. We went on a grand adventure, and we're best buds. You know?
Dan, how annoyed with that were you? Were you expecting us to take this NPC that you just threw into the game and like just and have him be like a pretty big part of the story overall?
You know what? The thing about Dungeons and Dragons is it is your world. Like as much as I create the world you live in, it is your story. My world, your story. And I think the one thing I've come to terms with is that not everything's going to go how I plan it. And in all honesty, I give you some choices. If you choose to go either way, whatever dungeon I created is in whatever way you chose. I just change it thematically how it fits where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of the whole being fluid with the world and fluid with the story is that things are going to change depending on how you act. I don't have a set story. My world's a little different. There's no big bad guy. As you guys have already seen, there's you guys have your own character arcs, but above that, there's a world you're living in, and there's a war happening. But you guys are kind of outside of that, and you're not even like
it's not like a standard video game where there's one big bad guy you're leading up to the end fight with kind of thing, or even that's like pretty much any pre-made, right? There's normally one sort of big main villain or bad guy, and that's kind of where it ends. Well, this one's more just this could go on for years, right? There's no set ending; it just kind of evolves as we do.
What I'm trying to do is I want to make it more realistic, as if the world is whatever you choose to do, the world is still moving on without you. I mean, as you guys were over in the East Coast, the West Coast is being attacked, and you guys could care less. I mean, it's none of your business, right? As adventurers.
But we could have.
You could have. I mean, it's entirely up to you. But it's just I wanted to show that the world kind of moves without you guys, but your stories matter most.
Speaking of our stories, I think right now is the perfect time to get into our favorite tales. Every person's going to go across real quick and try and on the spot think of their favorite story. I'm going to start so no one can take mine.
Damn it, I was going to take yours.
I'm not going to go into like a specific story. Mine's just more about like the classic D&D, like when you think of it, kind of what you talked about earlier, Andrew, with like your previous experience with it, was that one tavern night. I think it was our second maybe third session.
Dive?
Yes. So it was the very first time where our entire session was taken up just with one tavern. It included arm wrestling with betting.
That was good.
At one point, my character Winston stripped naked. He did a swan dive into the lake mid-air. Since I rolled a natural 20, I also used Mage Hand to beckon the women I was flirting with over. And then it was like a game of me trying to see how many chicks I could pick up. Like I had to roll dice basically to see, which women I picked up and that kind of stuff, which was it was hilarious.
Pity gave some to Dev.
Yeah,
he is the bard.
Yeah, I did. I did pity give some to Dev or to Stewie, if you will. And then there was also just like lots of small little moments, right? Like the betting on the arm wrestling was fun. There was talking with Jimmy's character was in a conversation with a bunch of other dwarves, and I was kind of drunkenly going in there and like hitting on them while he was trying to get like his important story information out, and I was just there the whole time like ruining it for him. Like it was our very first all role playing session where it was just like the classic tavern, like what everyone thinks about when they think about D&D. So that's probably.
Does that annoy you, Dan? Like when we just take things like completely.
Listen, how could it annoy him? The next day the next session he got to use the small meat sandwich as a reference, the Winston special.
To piggyback off of Cam, Cam bursts in, tries to have a threesome with Jimmy and his friend. Sorry, Winston bursts in and tries to have a threesome with Jimmy and his friend, both of them gnomes. He's a half elf. And he says, "What do you call a sandwich with two pieces of bread that are smaller than the meat in the middle?" The next session, after they had cleared the abandoned abbey, when they came back to town, there was a sandwich board that said the Winston special, and it was a two smaller pieces of bread,
little tiny piece of bread, big meat.
So I mean, I cried laughing when that happened.
I'm
It
sure
was-
eventually
it was-
too, in like a year from now, we'll be at some sort of like castle town, and then they'll be like, "Have you heard about the Winston special from the East?" Like,
That's kind of the dope thing about it. Like, jokes that can carry on probably for years. Like we've had some inside jokes that have lasted months now.
mhm. I mean, even just like
Laugh.
one of the small ones we do every single time that I just did to Dan is every single time we accidentally call someone by their real name and not their character name. We get to the point now where like all 5 people at the table are like, "Who?" Like every single time. happens
Or we
at
just
least 10
ruin
times a
people's
session.
names.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'm the
What
worst
is
for
Jeff's
names in
Styron.
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 It's like Styron Rices, but we called him Stewie from like the first session because he kept changing his name.
He gets so mad.
Or Gizmo now.
Sticky
instead of
Ticky.
Gyro.
Oh, is someone's favorite story Sticky Ticky? Because I want someone to tell that.
That's a classic.
Okay, wait, we're not gonna get any more. I don't spoil. Let's go into Andrew's favorite story.
So mine is actually Sticky Ticky.
Okay, good.
So after completing the quest, we got the house from Rodrigue,
Yes, Rodrigue.
and in that the dungeon that we had to do, we scooped the goo off a mimic, and it's sticky. So I kept it. I don't know why I decided.
Well, you
that
never
was
know
the
when you
thing
might need that, right?
It's true. So we celebrated in our new house. We all got extremely drunk. I bought the finest of fish wine or something like that, because I'm a dragonborn, so I was like, lizards drink fish, so why not?
That's a weird sentence, but why not? Why not?
So we all got extremely toasted, and I'm the fighter of the group, so I'm the big boy. Everyone else is smaller than my character and everything like that. So I don't know how it came to. I think I just leaned over to Winston and I was like, "Hey, we should stick Tiki to the roof."
Yeah, he was
Or
asleep.
We're all
should stick
drunk.
TikTok
We
to
were
the
all
roof.
drunk,
Okay.
and he was like asleep, and we just decided we were gonna pull a prank. I don't think that was our first idea for a prank. We had a couple different ones that obviously we don't remember now because one stuck out.
Yep. It's good.
And then yeah, continue.
Yeah, but we stuck him to the roof. We all passed out, and then he woke up in the morning and had to slide out of his clothes to get down from there.
And you
and
picture this
since
in your
then,
head
he's been
very
called Sticky
vividly,
Ticky.
right? Because
Oh, yeah.
you're about 7 feet tall. You know, he's a little tiny boy. The roof is probably only maybe 8 feet
Maybe
tall,
8.
kind of thing.
Yep.
So I can very easily picture just the big lizard one grabbing the little gnome, just sticking him right up there. And then I picture, like the image of like that the kid
Duct
playing.
tape guy.
Yeah, the kid playing like a LAN party game. That's basically what I
Yes.
pictured. Yeah, that was a good
Did you
story.
watch that documentary? Side note.
No, I didn't.
I
I'm
watched
ignoring
the
that.
clip of it. I didn't watch the actual
But then
one.
since
It's probably
then
awful.
though, almost every single session we literally call him Sticky Ticky, or like we have like 10 different
Ricky
variations.
Dicky Sticky Ticky.
Yeah,
that's
we have,
just
like,
Brian thing.
Or
We have
you were
10
gonna oil
different
him up and he was
variations.
Slicky Ticky.
Yeah, we were gonna slide him in. Yeah, we've had so many different variations off this one joke from like one random thing where we decided to drink inside our new house. Right, like the stories just get ridiculous. Okay, we're gonna go on to Phil now for his favorite story on the spot.
You guys have to know what I'm gonna say.
Your
I
favorite
have a
story?
strong bet.
I
I
don't.
pull out my short bow.
Oh yeah, okay, right. Yeah, I should have known.
Basically, we had come across. I don't remember the actual character's name.
His name was Lord
What?
Farquaad.
No, he was just ogre.
No, we named him Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, but then we named him Lord Farquaad.
Well, I guess.
We more or less came across an
Shrek.
ogre and a donkey in a swamp. The ogre wanted to kill us, but I think Dev talked him into letting us go if we killed some goblins in like a neighboring. So we go, we kill the goblins, and I can even remember like we were all going to go in very
Dev's
stealth to
dumbass
kill the
plan.
goblins,
Yeah.
and then Dev's like, no, let me go in and try to talk to them. That lasted a whole like 2 minutes, and then we ended up having to go into battle without any like sneak attack or anything.
Yeah, with all of them like head on, and luckily I had sleep
And-
at that point.
And that combat session lasted quite a while, and I remember like the night was kind of winding down, and sometimes
Like
like
that. It was 2 nights that we had to do that combat.
yeah, I remember when we left, we went back to the swamp to see the ogre. We're talking to him, and rather than the ogre actually being grateful that we killed these goblins, he's just like, "Get the hell out of my swamp." So
Out of my swamp.
You're missing one step. You're missing one step. We
what's
had
that?
a goblin and he threw the goblin towards
Yeah,
him
we gave him
as
the
a
goblin,
peace
yeah.
offering.
Yes, that's
And
true.
he crushed, or he ripped it apart. Yeah.
So when he wasn't very grateful that we, everybody was talking to him, and I just kind of said, I pull out my short bow, and then I go to shoot the donkey, and I kill the donkey with one arrow. Because I think
it went right through its neck. You got a really good roll.
Rolled exactly what it took to kill the donkey.
Yeah.
So the donkey just dropped dead, and the ogre got so pissed. And basically, like, none of you guys were expecting me to do it.
And we knew that was a fight. We didn't stand a chance of winning. Like, we don't know the HP
because we were so low level.
Yeah, we don't know the HP on an ogre, but all of us knew right away that was not a fight we were supposed to be doing. Like, we could instantly tell. So we're like, oh shit. He was hitting for like ridiculous damage. He's stacking 3 times in one turn. We're like, oh fucking shit. Like, we're screwed.
So Dev basically had to just somehow talk to the ogre and convince that we were going to revive the donkey, and then he's able to revive the donkey, and then he had to roll to convince him to let us go finally, or else we probably would have died.
And to this day, the donkey probably still has the arrow in his neck too. Maybe we'll get to see him one day again.
And I've told Dan, I'm like, listen, when we get to like a high level, I want
you're going back.
Just slap the ogre. I have to.
So after that session too, not only did we make a bunch of memes about that I pull out my short bow, and we've referenced it many times, I also do have it on my soundboard too.
I pull out my short bow.
Just in case we need that sometimes. Yeah. That's a class. I actually didn't know what your story was going to be. That reminded me of a good time.
It was sheer bravery mixed with sheer stupidity.
I think stupidity.
It's that end of the night session after a big combat where you're like I haven't done much today. Like, yeah, I'll just fuck with this part. Yeah.
I was like, this. You know what? I'm just gonna roll the dice and see what happens. And that's what I think was really fun about it. Luckily, we survived. But when I pulled out the short bow, I was like, you know what? There's a good chance I might die.
I think Dan is typically going to be pretty forgiving, you know? Like, he was probably a little light on us on the rolls or something, but
I wasn't quite sure, but that javelin almost killed you in one shot. So I look forward to you guys going back because I got a bit of a surprise.
So Dan, you might look at it a lot of times differently as a DM, but what do you think your favorite moment was?
I'd be hard to pass up having to improv because I completely forgot about it. Sea Bandits of the Eastern Isles.
Oh my god, yeah, that was a good one.
Sea Bandit Captain Jock's Tiny Bird. Yes. You guys overthrowing that entire theater and local whorehouse. Like that was something I forgot I had to do, and it turned out like a lot of fun.
It was perfect.
That was fun
because that turned into an entire street party.
You gotta give people a too long didn't read description of it though. Go a little bit more in depth on because it involves Rodrigue.
So Rodrigue was an out of work actor when they met him, and he moved to this town of Gold Harbor, which is a large port city with a large acting base. He applied for a role to play Sea Bandit Jock's Tiny Bird in Sea Bandits.
I think we made
Isles.
that up like the night or 2 sessions before, kind of thing, and I don't know where that even came from. Obviously, it's a very big play.
Sparrow.
It's a very big play on Pirates of the Caribbean.
I played the music, like the he's a pirate, and then we just like made it up for that world. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he was rejected and had to become a captain of a fishing vessel. That's where they met them. But they decided before their big quest that they were going to go and watch this opening night, in which they didn't have tickets for and had to wait in line. So they created a distraction. In which they made Winston the actual creator and composer of the Sea Bandits of the Caribbean, Sea Bandits of the Eastern Isle soundtrack.
And I had to borrow someone's loot.
Yeah, to add context to that, just because most people obviously don't know character. Like, can you describe Winston just a little bit here, Cam?
Yeah. So if you didn't know, most of my gamer names are Winston the Rich. It stems from Rich Boy Winston, who is a Pokemon character, who's just your very classic blonde, flamboyant man who's got tons of money. So I decided he was the perfect character as my first bard. So he's a half-elf bard who is obsessed with money. And, he's extremely bisexual. He's very flirtatious. And then he's very good at music, obviously. He's also very, very in love with himself. That's obvious. And very, very in love with, women.
And kicking mirrors.
And kicking mirrors. Trying to sleep with other people's wives is one of his hobbies as well. So there's a lot of fun things. But yeah, in that story, Stewie, so Devin's character, to get farther in the line, he lied and said I was actually the original composer of all the the scores from the Sea Bandits. So then someone in the audience gave me a lute because mine was still broken and I needed to use my pick on the lute. And so we went and I played. I managed to get a pretty good performance role. It impressed people. They actually started to believe us. Then we kind of went in. We hopped up on stage. We started playing it there. I called Rodrigue up onto the stage, and he kind of joined us. I think we made him play the triangle because I asked him what instrument he could play, and I was like, "Can you play the triangle?" He was like, "Yeah, I think." So we asked him for a triangle, and then after that, we took the party and we kind of went all around town. And then I used the fact I was the composer to try and pick up chicks again. It was a good time.
You also sent them all to a whorehouse.
Yeah, we sent all the people.
Party at the whorehouse.
Yeah, we said party at the Rusty Scimitar, which was the Gold Harbor whorehouse. And then we just didn't go there, so everywhere else would be empty. So we went to the bar while everyone went to the Rusty Scimitar. It was a classic.
And none of that was planned, and that was all off the cuff. Well,
that's good though, because then the next day we went on our island adventure. Like we went on the boat, and that shit got a little more serious there, much more plot heavy, and
you guys almost died to a squid.
Yeah. So we needed that nice session before just to really RP it out. And I think that was one of the first ones coming back from a break, maybe, or maybe a missed week or something like that.
I think it was right after Christmas.
Yeah, because I think we were getting into the session. Like when you take a break, you sometimes take a little bit to get back into it. So
it might have also been after Dev's campaign.
It could have been, yeah.
The first one, yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because I'm thinking after Christmas doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
In any campaign, you cannot have, just like anything else, you can't have constant highs. You have to have that downtime to just do things. And, so I find people burn out when you're constantly doing the most exciting thing in the world. You have to have that downtime to contrast the story.
Yeah, that's fair. Next, we're going to talk about what it takes to run a homebrew. So we've mentioned some of these things already. But one of the big things about this campaign that people are hearing, and that if you're not a D&D fan, you might not realize, is that a lot of D&D is played from books, right? From pre-made sessions by like Wizards of the Coast, and sometimes they have other people co-write them, like Matt Mercer has done one or a few, I think, at this point. Yeah, something like that. But we are not playing one of those, at least for our main session. You are just making up this world. You're bending it around our characters, and it's something that can endlessly go. So we don't have like a stretch of time we're planned for, which is really nice. But this also means you have to write the story. So it takes a little bit of writing skill and a little bit of planning and just kind of getting into exactly what you do in a week before we start to play.
Well, there's pros and cons to both. I'll be honest, I'm reading through the Struck, which is considered one of the best modules from Wizards of the Coast. And I also read through most of Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is also considered it's part of the starter set, considered one of the better modules to run. That being said, homebrew takes a little more work. You're creating the story, the characters, the lines, but there's so much freedom in it that even you can go off the rails all you want. What happens is up to you guys as much as it is myself. Whereas with Lost Mines of Phandelver and even Strahd, there you are kind of locked in a world on its own, and you have to play by the confines of that.
You're probably also more connected, I assume, right, to your own thing, to your own world, your character, stuff like that. Like you're going to remember one of your own sessions probably more than you'd remember something like one of the Lost Mines of Phandelver ones.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, obviously I put more heart into it, so I'm going to enjoy it more. I mean, I loved our last Thursday night D&D session, although we got one session into it. It was full of life, and your characters were character that were interesting, and there was excitement that happened. And there's a lot of joy that comes in watching you guys live in a world that I created and, experience the feelings that I try and put forth for your characters, or even watch you combat the choices that I thought you would make the opposite of. It's gratifying at some points. It is a lot more work in a small amount, because, I mean, if you've read the module itself and you've gone through the module before, then it's easy. I mean, if you've ran Lost Mines of Phandelver 5 times, it's going to be an easy way to just go through a campaign with a group. Whereas with your homebrew, it's something you're creating on the fly. And I mean, some people do run their own times. I've never been there, so
Yeah,
It's just
I remember when I was first looking into D&D 2, and I watched videos of like what was the guy's name? It was like EXP to 20 or whatever it is, like you know, or
EXP to 3, yeah.
that guy, yeah, whatever. So I remember I watched some of his videos, and when he talked about DMing, he talked about how like this is his 10th time running, you know, like a certain module. So
Wouldn't that get boring? Like I understand it'd be a little easier. I feel like if you've told the story numerous times,
I think the
would
story
get a little
changes so
boring.
much depending on the characters, though. That
Yeah, it's the people you play with in that sense. So
yeah, the DMs can still
Yeah.
find it fun just by playing with different characters, and they could change the whole thing. Which I think one of the reasons why our one Thursday session was so good is because we did try a lot harder, going off our previous online campaigns where they felt a little dry. You know, people weren't really, I don't think, trying their best. This next one we tried going really extra. You know, we all tried putting on some sort of voice. We were all
Oh, is that the Bobokin one?
yeah.
Mr. Bobokin.
Mr. Bobokin.
Yeah, we all tried to do something a little different, play some funny characters, which I think that that's something that we might get better at. We might pick up more as we play online sessions, you know, for the foreseeable future, at least until this whole thing's over. People might just learn to adapt. We might have to change up our play style a little bit, and I think the videos will definitely help a lot. But I was really excited actually to play homebrew, especially like your campaign homebrew on the computer, because
Yes.
we've all played these characters for so long. Playing them online might feel a little bit more natural still than like when you started new characters playing them online, which is kind of nice. So I guess we won't know until we play, which is what, tomorrow? Tomorrow, yes, because we're filming this one day late. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he?
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's a Monday day, so it should be tomorrow. Which is Dan uses Fantasy Grounds, so that's a little bit different than, for instance, we played Devon's last week, which was all just theater of the mind. Me and Phil were in the same room, so we were kind of having some fun and stuff like that in the same room.
Were you though? Were you in the same
until
room?
he
Not the
laughed
whole
about it.
time, yeah. Until Phil was mad that he had to leave. I remember. I heard the story later.
I was, yeah.
He
I was
Oh,
told
really?
he had to
Yeah.
leave because Jenna was upstairs and they were waiting to scare him when he came upstairs. So they called him up just to scare him, and then they're like, "You can go back down." And then Phil was so mad he didn't want to go back down.
Well, at that point, we were like, I think 20 or 30 minutes from like it being over,
Mhm.
or it at least being 12. And I know like Christy's still at work right now, so Christy was over at Cam and Meg's, and she was like, "Oh, like I gotta go home. I gotta go to bed." I was like, "Okay, you know, like that's fair. Like you have to work in the morning." So then I just decided to leave, and then when I went up, they tried to scare me, and then they're like, "Yeah, you can go back down." I'm like, "Yeah, there's not really going
Yeah.
back down."
At that point, we were pretty much done anyways. I feel like maybe there's a little bit more ending we could have talked about, but like it was pretty over. But I'm excited for tomorrow to see, because I like Fantasy Grounds too. I think there's a lot of really cool aspects of Fantasy Grounds, especially with like the languages and the image sharing and stuff like that. But it still comes down to a lot.
Are we
of
gonna
playing.
try to do a video as well?
Oh yeah,
Or are
we're gonna
do this?
try and do a video. I hope everyone is down for it. In some sense, as we've learned with this, we can use, everyone's got a cell phone, so we can use cell phones for the most part. Everybody kind of goes on Discord. The one thing definitely from the last week's session I'd say is that the Devin, who's the DM, I feel like the DM's one of the most important people, especially as it comes to talkers, and his mic quality was a little low, which made it a little harder. But I feel like Dan, we talk on Discord all the time, and it's pretty good. I don't really see an issue with it. But videos will help a lot. Phil, this will be your first time using Fantasy Grounds, I think. So we'll probably have to teach you how to do that maybe sometime tomorrow day. There's not much to do. It's really just a place where you can do your roles online, where, you know, Dan can see them and it does some of the math for you, and he can share images and maps and stuff like that for us. So
I spent an hour yesterday making maps in a free map creator so that we have something to play on for
Nice.
those of you that are not so inclined to theater of the mind. So you have a little more.
you have a visual
This is-
element.
Well,
This
I
is-
like one of the things that I enjoy doing it in person is playing a character and kind of like doing the movements of the character, and like being around other people like lets me be in that character without other people being able to see me in a weird way. Like it's not as immersive for me. You know what I mean? Like me sitting here and playing like this anxious character is not. It kind of sucks in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's getting his phone charger.
I wish we could play in person, and I feel there's much better connection. But I honestly, now that we've done this with the video chat, I
Mhm.
think this is at least a good way to get that visual response. You can get that same kind of excitement, and I don't know. I feel much more immersive with the cameras than I do without.
It's true. And as I said, like, this isn't like our choice. Obviously, if all of us could choose, we're going to choose to do it in person. I think everybody here would agree to that. It makes it way more immersive. It's fun. You know, there's that element where we're always sharing snacks and buying pizza.
Pizza,
Yeah, cool stuff like that. Maybe tomorrow we all buy our own pizza and we just kind of sit here and eat it just to pretend like we're in the same place.
Is pizza an essential service?
I think so.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, this is cool. Like, this will add something to it as long as everybody's down to do it. Plus, it makes it fun because I really did always want to get into some sort of D&D content on the channel, like recording or something like that. I recorded last week's session, but it was just me and Phil that had the video. Audio was kind of in and out. We didn't perfectly adjust it. Like, maybe we can do before tomorrow's session. Plus, tomorrow I could record, you know, all of us separately, mixed with also recording the fantasy grounds and kind of go back and forth and editing. Like, lots of time and stuff to kind of try out while we have all this spare time going on.
Having a 3D printer for miniatures is pointless for online, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true, but
Yeah.
hopefully it'll only be temporary, like 3 weeks maybe, kind of thing. Hopefully before everything cools down. We don't know.
I don't think that'll be the case.
Let's try and
unfortunately.
dream, please and thank you.
I want to go back to work. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm just kidding. I don't. I'm okay with chilling here. You know, I like taking all this time for the podcast. I want to work on new content, and as I said, I would be cool playing D&D 5 nights a week. Except for it's easy as a player, harder as a DM. But
I mean,
Yeah.
playing Warzone's been fun too.
yeah, that's been fun too. It's just like it felt like we haven't played online games together like ever, like
No.
until this week, right? Until now you're home and you're kind of doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm the kind of person I do not like. I don't really like even talking to people on like Facebook and stuff like that. Like, I'm really bad at responding. Like, I'm really shitty at it. Like, I'm much better at like talking in person or dealing with people in person or
Mhm.
playing things in person. So I think now I'm kind of forced to do it. Like, I've been video chatting with a bunch of people like the last 5 days
Just to get your
and
social
trying to be more
interaction.
responsive. Yeah, like I need to have some sort of social interaction. So
Maybe this will just get you really
Yeah.
good at it. You know, maybe after all this is over, you're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna play more online games with my friends.
Be
Like,
an
I've kinda gotten
MLG
used to-
expert.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know about that, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. And even like you guys have done online campaigns in the past, and I've never wanted to be a part of it because I just like being in person.
yeah,
But I'd rather at least have one session online than nothing.
yeah, exactly. I
know?
think going like a month or longer without any D&D, especially when we have this time where we're at home and stuff like that, it would just kind of suck.
Like,
As
you
you
know-
said, as you said, Cam, when it was starting to snow, you want to play more D&D, not less, and at least this is a chance to play.
Yeah, exactly. It sucks. Like, whenever you only have like one day a week of D&D and like you have all these really fun experiences, you're like, man, I want to play this again. So even when we were coming up to the winter, I'm like, man, this is gonna suck because like this means we have people that drive in. Even Andrew, your road is often closed in the winter.
It's not closed, but bad.
Yeah,
at
like,
least.
and Jimmy drives from a decently far, away, and it's up by the mountain, so that place gets pretty crazy. And he lives out in like, the back roads. So I was always worried that was going to stop us from playing. So the online was like this fallback, even if we have to accept it's not as good. It's better than nothing. And I feel like that's kind of now too. And I think, but with all this time and these resources we have right now, we're going to try and make the best out of what we have. Right, like we're going to try and get this video aspect really helps. We're going to get a little bit more inventive with our characters. The DMs are probably going to get more inventive and consider how the playstyle is online and what they can change about their stuff to then kind of make it work a little bit better. Obviously, someone like Devin, he's not going to be able to make super sick, glowy mushroom maps and then show it to us in person, which is one of his specialties.
Over video,
right?
he'll just be like, "Look, guys."
That's one of the things, though. That's one of his things. It's so immersive when he comes up with all these like fancy things he brings in. He won't be able to do that anymore. How's he going to recapture that magic online? He's got to find a way. Maybe
We
he's
need to
going to
figure
have
out the music.
yeah.
Having that ambience music is just helpful.
If we're gonna look at it, because last time when me and Phil were recording, I tried playing music. Me and Phil could hear it the whole time, but it wasn't going through to everyone else. But like that's something I'll look at by tomorrow, and I'll do a little bit of testing and stuff with like the Facebook video chat and stuff like that. So that's one thing that we'll take a look at. Let's see what else is on here. We go into different types of players is actually one thing I've always been really interested in for D&D. It was a video, I think it was the same person, maybe it was a different one before, and it was just like the listing like the 8 different types of Dungeons and Dragons players.
Almost any D&D web show has done a type of player.
Some sort of skit, right? Yeah, like something like that.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of funny because as we've played more now, even though I'm playing with mostly the same people, like give or take a couple people switch out. Like we played with our friend Ian for a little while on that online session. I can see some of it though, and sometimes I recognize when I'm being one of those like, you know, player stereotypes, and then I try and change it real quick. You know, even something like at the beginning when I was playing Winston, even though it's in my character that, you know, he really likes money, I started thinking I was making too many of my decisions based off something like gold, and it wasn't leading to as much fun. So I've kind of toned that down since. It's like the same as anything. Sometimes you're a character who just wants to, like, you know, kill everybody in a fight, and then you're just like, you want to be the best, but you're like, oh, but like I don't want to be that kind of character. It's also about not being the person who always tries to be the leader of the party, you know, trying to give someone else time to shine or give other people, you know, places to talk and have their own kind of thing and lead their own story and stuff like that, which is hard to do sometimes depending on what kind of person you are. You know, I've always been decently loud, and I like to take the lead in a lot of things. So sometimes when it comes to a different character story, and I just kind of like, I gotta like let them go ahead and sit behind, and but you don't want to do too much. You don't want to be silent the whole time. So it's kind of fun. It's different.
Some people. Oh, sorry, Dan.
You got to learn to contribute without taking over, especially like, I mean, when it's not your main part of your storyline, it may not seem as interesting to you, but you can't railroad somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still. I always remember with something like that when it was like when we went to the ruins in your story, and it was, you could tell like it was focused on like Andrew and Phil's characters. Like a little bit towards their story, but like neither of them really were noticing that it was about their story at the time. It's pretty funny because it was about, we went to the ruins. There was a bunch of burned people, and you know, like all these families were trapped.
It was for clues, and what it shows me though as a DM is that sometimes when I feel like something is obvious to me, it's not obvious to everybody else in a group, and I've learned to kind of put multiple clues leading to the same spot to help kind of,
in case someone didn't pick up on the first three,
right?
Yeah. It's just so cool in homebrew though, how you can just like make a story towards, you know, one person. That's something you're not going to get inside the prepackaged campaigns, which is
I have an
cool.
evil twin brother.
You do. We had a big session.
But he's an evil older brother.
Yeah, we had a big session on your character there with that story, and I think everybody was pretty immersed and involved with it too. It wasn't just like
you sandbagging the entrance, like I got arrested, and you're like, we don't know these people. No.
I was thinking realistic.
Like, kill them.
No, we helped out though. That's the thing, is that we thought smart. I'm like, hey, listen, all of us being in jail isn't going to help him get out. I'm going to leave, pretend to be like a lawyer or something like that, so I can go in and help him. Big brain.
Yeah, how many times have you called me Azrael?
A bunch.
Like, this is Azrael Darks, guys.
Still to this day, whenever we introduce people.
Yeah,
but I think that's part of Winston's character in a way, where he'll like kind of sell people out to get himself off the hook. Some of the shit that Devin has done in Dan's campaign, though, I'm like, man,
I remember this, and this kind of goes in like the type of players too. Like speaking on like players, I remember like the bar thing was the big thing with Dev's character, because even I was like, man, like I wouldn't even blame Dan if he took some big repercussions to this. Like,
you got to give some context here for people.
Yeah, so we're in a town. There is no like mayor to this town, but there is like the local, like the law master, as I think what her title was. Was that right, Dan?
There was a military presence, but yeah, the lawmaster is the one who deals with the main.
Yeah, and recently she arrested, as we just talked about, she arrested Andrew's character and some of the other people in the party. Not completely fairly arrested, but like in a sense, you got to remember that this is almost like a fake medieval setting. And then while we're in this like fake medieval setting, Dev is in the jail and he's getting all mad, being like, I demand my rights and all this kind of stuff. And you got to remember like where you are.
SJW.
Yeah, and then even eventually when we get out, then he's like a changeling. He could turn into other people. So he changes into the lawmaster, goes through like a tavern, like hitting people, spilling their drinks, like doing a bunch of inappropriate shit that no one in the town is gonna believe. And then the guards come and he like jumps out of a window, and it's just like a bunch of wonky shit that like. To be honest, we kept making jokes about this, about like Dev, as he's a woman, he gets like impregnated, then he's forced to play the next 9 months as a female character. Because it just felt like it's one of those times where and I've recognized this a lot, Dan, like as you know, is one of our online sessions, like the Lost Mines of Phandelver, where there was many moments where you wanted to punish us from like stupid gameplay.
You guys killed all the goblins.
You guys
Before
split
I
up
could.
and then went and tried to fight everything all at once. And it's like, I'm going to be forgiving because you're new, but I shouldn't have been. I should have just killed you all because you would have died.
But that, to be fair, we weren't doing it because we were new either. A lot of it was like Zach, for instance, he had played it before, so I think he was just trying to make it more fun or make it interesting for himself or something like that by being really troll about it. Different types of players handles things in different ways. But yeah, even I think most of us as players at that moment, like we kind of were like, oh yeah, like something needs to be punished here. Like there's something needs to happen, or we're like, yeah, this could be a moment where we wouldn't blame Dan if he did something about this kind of thing. And it was like that with the Devin's character. We're all like, the next day, we're like, yeah, man, if like Devin just gets like, you know, killed or captured or in jailed or something like that, like that makes sense. Like we'll accept it. But
the reason I was so willing to accept it in the Lost Mines of Phandelver is, for one, it was our first.
yeah,
Second of all, this is the first time I've ever run the campaign. To kill you guys right off the hop means I have to go through the beginning again. And it's a lot of time on my part. I just want to play through the next part so I can kind of experience how it goes, right?
Mhm.
I put all this time and effort. You got to remember, as a DM, you put a lot of time and effort into either building a world, reading about a pre-existing world, and knowing how to handle the situation when it arises. I mean, I've just recently read 12 hours of Curse of Strahd, and I'm barely past the first chapter, and it's still it's a lot, and it's a lot of time and effort on my part. And
How big's the first chapter?
So I know I'm a bit different. So I've read through the first part of it is called The Death House, and it's an exciting kind of haunted house tale. I'm not going to get into it because I want you guys to play through it eventually. But it's one thing to read it, but you'll want to read it a couple times to get the gist of everything. But then I also like to go online, and you can watch a lot of people have done different takes on it, different advice on how to run it. And there's one that I found I love this part of Strahd. I love this first entry level kind of tutorial to the campaign, and it spun it in a different way, and it changes a lot of how the house runs, but it's so worth it in my mind. And I think it's a little darker and a little more haunting, and I think it fits very. So it's just simply, it's not just reading about how it's run, but also how other people's experience on how they've done it and how you can improve upon it yourself, so that when you come to it, it's something memorable for you guys specifically, not just here it is from the box. It says you can't do that. Sorry about your luck.
One of the funnest parts about D&D is also making your characters. Especially when you've played multiple times, you want each character to be different in some sort of way. You know, if you've played 4 characters that are all dicks in a row, maybe your next character is gonna be like aggressively nice or something. Like there's this chance to change up how you play and like to learn and grow as like a player. So I'm pretty excited for your Strahd one. Plus, I just want to play more D&D. Right, like I got so much time right now. I'm like, and I just right now it's just constant. Every morning I'm like waking up, playing some Animal Crossing, baking some sort of cookie, you know, relaxing, watching a show, Animal Crossing. Later I stream a little bit, then I go to bed. So like I want more D&D.
What if we did like, if this does last, you know, for a few weeks? What if we did like an entire week, play 2 hours a night?
Yeah, have like a D&D week, except for the DM's got a plan for that.
Yeah, here's the thing. I could play Dungeons and Dragons 5 days, 7 days a week. That's no problem. I can only DM probably 2. The idea of finding time to write my own campaign stuff plus read Curse of Strahd to get ahead enough to where you guys are. And you need to know in advance, unfortunately, with some of these campaigns too. Like the homebrew I can make up on the fly. But Strahd, I kind of need to know what goes on in the future because it does affect what you're doing. So I could definitely DM 2 nights a week, sure. But I could not do it 5 days. If you wanted to do a rotating DM schedule where everybody DM'd 1 night a week, and we all played players in their campaign, that's a one shot even.
Yeah, this would be the perfect time for people to start experimenting with their own one shots, right? Like I remember when we first started, I talked about a couple different one shot ideas where I was like, you know, like even some fun things where you could take the same world we all live in, but play in a different spot of it or something like that. I remember one of the first one-shot ideas I had is I was going to redo like the kind of like the first chapter of Dan's, but I'd do it from the enemy's perspective, and you know, it
Somebody
could like
plays Rodrigue.
Yeah, like that. It could like play out differently, kind of thing. There's a bunch of really stupid fun ideas just for like a 3 to 4 hour one-time session. Like you just make character for that session, then you're done, or even you have pre-made character sheets and you give them out for that session, and then you're done. But
even to do it like 2 or 3 week campaign, like I said, I even said if you guys wanted to play a second night, there is an invasion on the opposite side of the island as you. You could be invading forces, and it can be a different story, and it gives you a contrast to your current characters on the political beings of this world, right?
And
It
it builds
adds
lore.
to the storyline,
Yeah.
but doesn't take away from it.
World building, lore building, all that kind of stuff.
Like, as weird as it sounds, DMing fun. I would need to understand the game a lot, but I think like maybe 2 years down the road, like I think I could come up with a story that would be good, but maybe not execute it
all
the best way at
rules.
this point.
Yeah, which is like
Listen.
sometimes I feel kind of like the same as like, you know, I've looked into a lot of the rules of D&D before.
I think that you could DM, Cam. I think that you do a really good job.
I'm just so darn lazy though. That's the issue. It's not that I have the
Devin-
lack of ability or tools. It's just that I really don't want to take time.
Devin DM'd his first campaign without reading the player's handbook.
Yeah, but you could tell though.
It doesn't matter. He did it. He went out and he did it. We all we contributed to that world. The thing is all I read before I wrote this campaign was the player's handbook. It's the basic rules on how to play the game. If you understand how a character plays the game, you just have to build the world around that.
I
Simple
feel
as
like,
that.
and I feel like even just as a player now, you know a lot of the things. Like there are obviously going to be some things you still need to look up separately as a DM, like you know challenge rates and stuff like that. You know, for your encounters and all that kind of stuff. But like in general, though, as a player, you know how a lot of stuff plays now. You don't really need to relearn about armor class and all that kind of stuff. You know,
And a lot of it you can kind of go with the flow. The joy of homebrew is at least it's your world. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it.
yeah, it's true. I mean, I still think it'd be fun for people to try out like one shots at different times. Maybe even there's just like one a month. One person writes some sort of 3 to 4 hour session just to give it a try.
I love playing, so I'd love to play in somebody else's. I don't care. It's a lot of fun to create a character and just.
Yeah. Now, Dan, give us a quick exclusive. You play with other people. So at the local hobby shop here in town, you play. It's at the hobby shop, right?
It's the Scenic City Games Emporium, which is downtown.
Oh, shout out. So yeah, you play there with a couple of the group people. How many people play there? Like, what's the size?
So it's a small group. There's 3 of us and the DM.
Oh, that is small.
Do I know the DM?
You do, yeah.
Yeah, the DM is the manager.
Yeah.
How is it? Is it fun? Is there like a player you love, a player you don't have to give me their names, obviously, but like
So
as a DM yourself, like even like some of the DMing things you see, you're like, I wouldn't do it like that if that was my campaign.
So all 3 of us are fairly newer players. Even myself DMing, maybe I have a little more knowledge than others. But the other 2 haven't played in like 20 years. So you're coming back with really new players. A little lax on the rules per se, but you know what? You go in with an open mind. The story is we're running Curse of Strahd, a beautiful campaign, and it's run very well. I mean, the DM does a great job to spice things up and just with voices, ambient music, and just the overall tone and storytelling. It's great. It's a lot of fun. It's a smaller group than you'd want to run with Strahd, from what I'm to understand.
Mhm.
But even then, it's like I don't know everything in the monster manual. So when we're running up against vampires, I'm like, do I know how? Can we kill these things? Is this where we should be? Are we gonna die here? And we're coming up with sneaky plans, and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, we need to get the hell out of here. Or all of a sudden you're fighting these things and I don't know what that is. I think I know what it is, but it's even if you've read the monster manual, I don't know there's still a lot of fun to it.
Yeah.
Is there like a sweet spot with number of players? Like, do you find it's better with smaller groups? Is it possible to have too big of a group?
So as far as the smallest group I'd like to run is 4. 4 is comfortable. You can build good encounters around 4. If you get into too many people, you get combat bogged down. Everybody's got a list of things they can do, and it grows as they gain level. And all of a sudden, you're 8 people in a combat, and between you and all the monsters that have to be in that combat to make it challenging, it's really time-consuming, right? You don't want to be number 1 of 8 and then sit around on your phone waiting for the other 7 people plus the other 14 monsters to make their action.
Yes.
6 is comfortable, 5 is great, 4 is optimal. Like 4 is good as well. I mean, if you're writing a homebrew, you can do 2 people. That's fine. You just have to know that your encounters are going to be smaller.
Yeah.
How many people do we run with if BM comes?
6 is BM.
Yeah. Because I knew because I was trying to make us like a layout thing for the online session to try and work on in the next couple of days. The one thing too, but like the more people we have, the more people talking, the more different types of personalities you have, stuff like that. So, if you have 6 people and all 3 people, there's I mean, the joke in our in Devin's most recent one is that we had 5 people playing and all of us wanted to be emo without talking to each other. Like we come in the first day, like, yeah, so my dude's got black hair in his face, he just listens to MCR all day, and then like Dan's like, yo, my character also has black hair, he hates life, and then someone else comes in like, yeah, my character's just depressed all the time. It's like, oh shit, wait, we're all emo. Like, God,
Then I
14
went the
years old,
polar
too.
opposite.
yeah, like it's nice having a nice diverse group, and if you had like 12 people all playing, how diverse can you really be at that point? There's going to be like 2 or 3 people that are all probably the exact same character. Plus, like then if you're playing, even just like the podcast we always record, there's something about not trying to talk over other people. If you're playing with like 9 people, people are going to be talking over each other. We already get pretty loud when we're playing with like 5 or 6 of us, right? So picture that doubled.
If you look at something like, and again, I'll bring this up, and it's not always the best example because a lot of people disagree with me, but Critical Role, when you watch it, that 3-hour, 4-hour podcast, only half of that's Matt Mercer talking. The rest is the party talking.
Mhm.
And sometimes you got to learn that you have to sit silently while other people are talking, and you have to listen to what they're saying without trying to have a side conversation. That's hard for a lot of people too, right?
Yeah, I mean they're also very professionals. I think
Oh,
if you're a Critical Role fan and you play D&D, one of the biggest things you can get into is trying to think like, why isn't my campaign like this, kind of thing. Your
Never
DM
will be.
cannot be Matt Mercer and you cannot be Travis Willingham. It's just part of life. They've been doing this for years. They're paid professionals. I wish I was Travis Willingham. Trust me. One of these days, I'm gonna make an Ford-like character. I've already decided. I'm going with the Southern accent. I've already picked it for the next campaign.
That'd be fun. Like, I love doing accents. That's just the best.
I think
Elliot one's great.
I think with online, honestly, that's how we're going to step up our playing. Is we're going to step it up by being outrageous. We need to develop our characters, make them a little more over the top. Maybe a little.
I want to
more
bring
person.
Elliot back. I feel like I wasted him on.
And there's
short
nothing
campaign.
stopping you from bringing Elliot back too.
There is nothing
You
stopping
could just kill off Plews and bring Elliot.
Don't even. Here's the thing. I told Phil this. If you want to retire your character, don't throw your party under the bus by doing something stupid in combat
Just
and
have
doing a
peace.
TPK. Go and retire him and say that, hey, Plews has found some information on his family. To
Or
go
like-
that way, but he wants to go now.
All
I
you
could just
do.
get run over by horses or something.
Listen,
like
no, we go into a fight, some sort of demon overtakes Plews' body. He's like a super flamboyant demon, and then when he leaves, like a little bit of that leaves off on Plews, So then he's still this Plews, but his whole character has changed or something. Like there's so many ways you can go about this, He can get like one of his toes chopped off, and that kind of changes his whole personality then. Like he's got to live life in a different way,
I'll just turn into Sylvando from Dragon Quest.
Exactly. That's what I was picturing.
Hello, darling.
That would be quite the twist.
So we've kind of talked about this a few times, but like plans for the future for both D&D. We're going to try and record it with all of our lovely faces, even though they might be a little blurry, a little low def. We're going to try and get the audio as good as it can get, and we're going to try and have a lot of fun while playing. We're going to try and be lively and organized. And yeah, hopefully, as I said, it's up to the DM to try and work.
Your job.
Yeah, well, it's up to the DM to understand what we're doing. Like we're doing online sessions, they got to change their play, and then it's up to us as players to also realize that and see what we can do individually to try and up the content level, right? Especially if we want to record this, and we want to put it out. We're gonna have to do our best to make it as good as possible, and then we'll find out tomorrow. Will be our first testing time, as we said. Maybe in the future,
Yeah.
Dan, when you feel comfortable, we'll run your Strahd campaign. That would also be really nice to record because that's a fresh start. So, we're not starting recording off, characters people have never seen or met
No
before.
inside joke.
Yeah, like we'll be starting off with brand new characters. People get the jokes right away. It's a nice place to start recording. As far as the actual podcast goes, we're still going to be doing weekly episodes right now. Probably
Yeah, we'll
still
have to do
online.
like a news one pretty soon.
All the news is
the
just going to be so
rumor
depressing.
right now is Nintendo Direct from March 26th. Have
That's
you
what I
that?
heard, yeah. And a bunch of Breath of the Wild 2 information leaked, apparently. So
I'm excited
knew
for
it.
that.
we might hear something.
Yeah, I was gonna say most of the news is just kind of like depressing in a way. It's just about delays, but hopefully we'll have some good news then. If it's March 26th, that means by next week when we're recording, it should already be done. Maybe we'll have
And I
a
know that-
reaction video.
I know that we touched on it briefly at the beginning of. Maybe we could do some sort of like first 5 on Animal Crossing, like I'll obviously sit out for a little bit and maybe just ask you guys some questions on it. But I kind of want to hear where you guys are at after like a week of playing.
What about first 50?
Yeah, the first 5 was done. Like I actually, the day it came out, I didn't actually end up buying it because I was busy that day. Till probably like 11. I started playing at like 11 at night.
You messaged me late about the switch trick, and yeah, it was pretty late.
Yeah, I didn't start playing. I played like 11 till 1 or something like that. And then I woke up the next day and really started just because I was busy that day doing a bunch of stuff. That was the day I was moving all the podcast room stuff around. Yep. But yeah, like a first 5 would be cool. As I said, I'm going to try and put out I think the video I'm going to try and put out is basically like a March fishing guide for Animal Crossing because they have seasonal fish that come out. And since we only have about 7 days left of March now, 7, 8 days. I never remember.
Something like that.
Something, one of those two. To get these March fish. Together. Yeah, until next year, right? Until you won't be able to get some of these fish again until November, December, January, stuff like that. So I'm going to try and put this guide out with some of the gameplay me and Andrew recorded today. That'll be fun. That'll be our first ever like scripted content. Like I'm gonna have to make a script, sit down, record the script, put it over the gameplay. That's the first thing we've ever done. We've never done it before on the channel, so that'll be interesting. And then obviously we're streaming a bunch more. So we're streaming. Phil's been streaming Days Gone all week. He's on like part 10 or 11 now.
I actually have my entire on the channel. Like over 20 hours of content.
Nice. That's over 20 hours. That's not even that much, actually. I already got over that in just Animal Crossing, but I haven't been streaming that.
Yeah, I think it might be 25 to 30. There was probably like a session where I played 5 hours of doing side missions that I just didn't bother putting up. But pretty much all the story is there if someone actually wants to.
I've been debating streaming Animal Crossing, but it's just such a relaxing. It's such a relaxing game, though. There's something about just playing it while you're like in your pajamas, laying down on the couch, kind of thing. That like streaming might take it away.
It'd be entertaining if you talked more, or if very like chatty with the camera.
And that's one of the things is there's so many times where I just don't feel like talking a lot. Like I don't feel
just
like
put
trying
Damien
to
in your chat, and then you're good.
And have him do it for me.
Damien won't shut up.
It's true. He was born for that kind of content. But yeah, it's just such a relaxing game. Sometimes I just want to like lay on the couch while having a background show, and I just can't commit to streaming at all. Plus, after the first like 2 hours, I'm pretty much doing like menial tasks over and over again. But like I think the scripted content for Animal Crossing will do well because people really care about that information right now because everyone's playing it. I'm actually curious in a little while to see like the sales numbers on it. With all
I think I read in the
UK.
I think I read today that in the UK it's already outsold Pokemon.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
It's because it's a time-killing game and a game where you've got nothing but time to kill.
It's true.
True.
And it actually works really well digitally. For multiple reasons, obviously, me and Meg are both playing off one digital copy. That's something we couldn't do with physical. The download size was pretty small. I mean, it was only, 6 gigs?
Like 6.9.
That's pretty small compared to a lot of other games.
Still took me forever, but...
It did take... But, I mean, Warzone took you longer. What was that, 80 gigs?
It's 100.
Yeah,
well, that was brutal. But yeah, so just I guess the next week, keep an eye out for streaming content if you're into streaming content, and keep checking out the YouTube channel and the Instagram. And then we might, if they actually do end up doing a Nintendo Direct on the Switch stuff, we will maybe do something like this and film a live reaction of it.
We should do that.
Just because we can, like we figured out how this kind of works with the videos. Like, not the highest quality in the world, but it works. So that's something we would probably want to do. And then just keep an eye out on Instagram, and we'll have all the posts and all that kind of stuff up and all the links and all that. Anyone else got anything they want to finish with here?
I got one last thing to say.
Okay, I'm excited to hear it.
Hashtag Trey shoutout.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. We almost missed it, yeah. Hashtag quarantstream, hashtag coronacation. Okay, guys, so just before we finish up once again, I am Cam.
I'm Phil.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. It's not as exciting as it's always been, but this is something we're kind of working on. So thanks a lot, guys, and have a good night.